How can Plato's story of the cave in the Republic influence the current leaders to make more effective ethical decisions? And what advice would Plato give if he were living among today's leaders?
Well, that's an excellent question. Let us examine your example of the allegory of the cave. See, the allegory of the cave has always been with us. So Western civilization has been fascinated with it. It shows these people who are sitting on a bench in the cave, and they're looking at a wall, and behind them there are puppeteers putting on a kind of shadow play, shadow show. There's a fire burning behind them, and these people are holding up certain objects, and the shadows of the objects are projecting onto the screen, and the prisoners are tied so they can't turn around and see what's going on behind them. They only see the images. They only see these shadow shapes. They don't know what the reality is. You see, this is their reality, these shadow shapes. Well, let's apply that to today. Marshall McLuhan says, the Canadian philosopher of the media, that we are living in the civilization of the image. Well, we don't know. We're bombarded with images. Images on the television screen, images on the magazine covers and the newspapers. We're bombarded with these images, and these images are full of symbols that make us interact with them, that it incentivize us to go and buy products or to vote a certain way. We don't even know who controls these images anymore that they bombard us with, you see. But Plato says, if one of these prisoners were able to break free from the bench where he's chained and turn around and walk back, he would then see who these puppeteers are and what kinds of shapes what they're doing to create these images. Look, if I go like this, there's an eagle on the surface, you see. And so that person would learn a lot about what's going on, and oh, it looks like that over here, but it's really this over there. And then Plato takes it even a step further. Suppose he finds his way outside of the cave, and he goes outside into the light of the sun, and he'll be blinded by the sun virtually. And the sun, of course, will be the symbol of God and of truth and of light. And then he comes back into the cave. Well, how will he be able to communicate with the others? They they won't believe what he says. He won't be able to explain what he has seen and what he has experienced. They may persecute him, as they did with Socrates, as they did with Jesus, you see. And so that's why the allegory of the cave has been a metaphor for all these things. It's been a metaphor for waking from sleep. It's been a metaphor for the development of the philosopher king. It's been a metaphor from changing from corrupt ways to ways of the truth. It's a metaphor that can apply to today. We're living in this civilization of the image, and we're attached to shadow shapes. We're attached to style, not to substance, you see. And we're caught up in consumer values with consumer images, and we live trying to satisfy these images. They show us a sleek car and an attractive girl standing next to the car, and the sales pitches, guys that get cars like that get girls like that, and all of these images are operating this way on us. So it would be very important for us to reach a kind of meta level on which we could separate ourselves from the world of shadow shapes and start looking for substance. See, it's also a metaphor for political corruption. The images on the wall is the rhetoric of politics, the brainwashing, the thought control that we're bombarded with, you see. And we must search deeply into the reality and ask ourselves, what kind of a state do we want to live in? What do we want the relationship of the individual to be to the sources of power? You see, am I my brother's keeper? Do we want a welfare state? To what degree do we want capital, and to what extent do we want government control? We would have to ask those deep-rooted philosophical questions. And once again, in the domain of of business ethics, we will have to ask ourselves, corporations are a legal fiction that we have created. Should we allow them to run amok, or do they have a duty to the rest of society? The United States Supreme Court has recently called corporations persons. Said a corporation is a person, and therefore a person has a right to free speech. And then they said that money is a form of speech. So according to the First Amendment, then corporations can spend an unlimited amount of money because it's an unlimited amount of free expression, and so we now have this all of this money going into political advertising. You see, so I think that Plato's allegory of the cave that you mentioned is the metaphor of our times.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.